Okay, so you're empowering enterprises with data on carbon, energy, waste, water. They are making their own decisions on what to do on top of it. Or are you suggesting, making recommendations? Hey, here's what you can do to
Yeah, so
decarbonize.
that is where AI comes into picture. Now we have data. Right now, just to give you some stats around AI, so we have built our own in-house engine.
Yeah.
We have data of close to 60,000 companies, their sustainability data. What kind of emission they are making, what kind of actions they are taking, what's the impact of those actions, all those data points we have. And then we use the existing data point to come up with a solution depending on their hotspot, depending on the emission intensity, depending on the industry, depending on the process. We come up with a potential solution, and we don't like start with really big picture where you have to invest millions of dollars. We start with the baby steps, like you should do the energy audit, you should do the water audit, all those stuff.
Welcome back for another episode of the Voice of Generation Climate TVOGC. Today we have with us Akash Keshav, who is the co-founder and CEO of Sprih, a sustainability platform, digital first, AI first sustainability platform focused on enterprises. Akash, what a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thanks, Anirudh. Definitely, it's a great pleasure for me also to sort of be part of this podcast, and definitely excited to have this conversation with you for next 30-45 minutes.
Awesome. So, Akash, you are the first port of call in the entire climate journey for most enterprises. You're doing the first part of actually helping
Yeah,
calculate, multiple environmental metrics, carbon
yeah.
emissions, scope 1, 2, 3, but also waste, also water, right? Energy consumption, and then you're showing it to a company in a very seamless manner that they can then report back for compliance and even for their own net zero goals, right?
Yeah,
You're the first port of call. What prompted you to start Spree? What was the inception point?
yeah,
And maybe you can tell us about how you and the co-founders that you have, three other co-founders also came together.
yeah. No, thanks, Anirudh. Very interesting question. And if I am pretty sure you must have looked at the founder's profile. And all of us come from very strong tech background. None of us sort of before starting Spree was much aware about scope one, two, three. But at the same time, all of us were spending a lot of time with a non-profit near Pune. That non-profit was working in the domain of sustainability, tree plantation, forestation. And actually, all of us met at that non-profit while volunteering there. Out of like every alternate weekend, we were going there, spending a lot of time from like our busy schedule. So
Which
that
one was?
gave. So
Let's
it's
not.
called 14 trees, 1 4 trees. So it's a very massive tree plantation activity happening. More than 2 lakhs trees has been already planted, and slightly different concept as compared to maybe regular tree plantation activities. A very scientific and again technology driven tree plantation. So we were sort of spending a lot of time there, and suddenly we realized that at least this is common among us. Like all of us are passionate about sustainability. All of us come from tech background. Why don't we do something? And it was not like build a platform or do something around technology. It was always like do something impactful which can help the world become more sustainable. And that was I would say the starting point that led to the entire genesis or the birth of Spree. We were very good with the tech, so we thought like why don't we leverage the past knowledge and the current passion and build something for the companies. So that is how the entire discussion around Spree started. And even for first couple of months, even I would say couple of quarters, we were not in this. We were talking to people, doing a lot of experiment, how to do things in right way. That was the whole question: how to do things in right way. And as you mentioned, Anirudh, like the assessment and accounting is the stepping stone. And if your stepping stone is not right, doesn't
Yeah,
matter what you do, will not make
yeah.
any sense. And that is one part we thought like it's probably 10% of our entire journey, but that is the like the first 10%. If you can't do that right, the remaining 90% might not even make sense. So that is how sort of we started looking at problems slightly differently. It's not just the accounting and assessment problem, but it is about the accuracy, it is about the auditability and everything around the data coming to system. So that is how I would say we started thinking about the entire idea, and we have definitely made a lot of progress, multiple iterations, and again learned a lot. The on-ground challenges are very different than than talking about the challenges in the boardroom. But this is one problem which involves people at the floor working on the floor shop, at the same time people who are sitting in the boardroom. So taking the discussion across this breadth become very, very critical as well. So it's been a very, very good, I would say, experience so far.
Great. So you started in 2022. It's been
Yeah,
3 years now.
yeah.
And how would you say you've evolved mostly as a company solving for compliance, or is it voluntary commitments that enterprises are making, or is it
So
both?
see, I would say both. In some cases, definitely compliance is one of the driver. But even when it comes to compliance, there are two approaches to fulfill the compliance. One is checkbox, and one is thinking long term. So even in the compliance, we are taking this long term approach, not just the checkbox approach. So if you look at the BRSR, for that matter, there are companies who started sustainability journey long before BRSR. There are companies who are starting the journey with BRSR, and there are companies who are doing BRSR just for the sake of BRSR. And we have to respect all companies. Like there is probably, I don't think so I can go and question any of these companies, but companies who are starting the BRSR, there are a set of companies who are going very deep, looking at the long-term vision. Because one thing is very clear, with all these political ups and downs, sustainability is not going to go away. The
Yeah.
sooner you accept this fact, the amount of risk, business risk you are reducing is much exponential and higher. The more delay you will do, chances are losing business or the bigger picture will be much sort of risky for any business leaders. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just a good to have, it's now a license to be in
Mm,
the marketplace. It's the right thing to do for the
yeah.
planet. In fact, I think I read somewhere that you had said it's just a it's a, it sets you up with a differentiator. It sets you
Yes.
it becomes a core part of a company's DNA. Companies that are taking it
Yeah.
seriously
Yeah.
become a core part of their
Yeah.
DNA, and it has multiple benefits,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
all authority
Right.
benefits.
Yeah. So maybe one analogy I can give here is the era of digitization, business digitization around 2010 to 15. Companies who took it very seriously, they did quite well. Their entire process, from the business point of view, from the compliance point of view, there are companies who thought like this is just another phase kind of thing, and they face the consequences. The kind of money they spent later, the kind of businesses they lost or started losing was much higher as compared to companies who adopted the digitization wave. Similarly, here also, see, digitization was not driven by compliance, but the fact is sustainability is driven by compliance, and it is in the top agenda of each and every government. Doesn't matter they are supporting or not. Even if they are not supporting, the first thing they are trying to do, they are coming and talking about sustainability, which reflects the importance of this topic now. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm assuming that when you first started, obviously it wasn't as automated or as digital as it is today, right? Initially, you would
Yeah.
have had to do things manually, things that don't scale.
Yeah.
A lot of paperwork, data collection, CVS, CSVs, and Excel sheets, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you've gotten to a point where it's fully automated, digitized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about that 3 year journey from the time it was very manual to now becoming an AI native platform, because that's a
Yeah.
very big part of entire your entire product experience,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
AI
yeah,
native.
yeah, yeah.
So how has that evolved?
So, before even looking at the data, I'll take maybe slightly different angle also, and that is mindset. So, when we started, as I told you, right, there was nothing. BRS was not there. USA was not talking about any kind of sustainability law or anything. Only Europe was one region which was doing pretty well on sustainability front. So, when we started, the biggest pain point was not even data or anything. The biggest pain point was mindset, going to a CXO and telling that this is something very important for you. They were not even aware about anything like sustainability or they need to take it seriously. But suddenly BRSR came around mid 22, the first draft, and that made a lot of change in the entire market. The awareness suddenly become part of the boardroom discussions because BRSR is very comprehensive framework, 140 questions, three different sections. So everything was very kind of in detail at the same time, driven by data also. It's not just the story which you can talk about. So that shift, I would say, from in within 3 years, where there was no awareness about sustainability, to the point that they have to take it seriously, has been very different. For us, taking the discussion from data collection to taking the discussion to boardroom in multiple companies. Like not all discussions started with the boardroom. There were discussions like company secretary was appointed to sort of just publish the BRSR. Taking the discussion from there to boardroom has been very, very different for us. So that is one aspect which I would say changed significantly in last 3 years, and not just in India. That has been our experience across globe, because now we have presence in other markets like Europe, USA as well. So that's the experience across all markets. Now coming back to the data, there are two parts of the data. First, what kind of data they need to collect, because sustainability scope 1 2 was very new for each and every company who has done nothing or very limited exposure to sustainability. The first part was awareness, what kind of data they need to collect. That was not there. Even if you pick the BRSR, last year's BRSR, you will find a lot of companies there, like the mismatch between the data they reported in two different tables, and probably they were not aware the meaning of those two data points. So that was one big challenge which we are facing. So even the awareness training, telling the companies, CXOs, the key stakeholders, these are the data points we must have even to start our journey. Then suddenly they realize, oh, they never collected the electricity data from the unit consumption point of view. It has been always the amount. So those kind of changes we started bringing in the organization by using the tech, like how you can use the tech, upload the bill, system will process the entire bill and upload the data into system. We started talking about integrating with the third parties, which the third parties tools which they are already using. So obviously we started with a very in a raw manner, where we started telling them just share the data in whatever format you have. We will convert that data and upload into system. We didn't want to go and tell them, oh, if you want to sort of start the journey, then you have to sort of build a rocket ship kind of thing. So we started taking very baby steps, and there were organizations who literally told us, Akash, that our team won't be able to upload the data, and we took that as a challenge. And they are not like very tech savvy guy.
So it's a very high friction point to do
high friction point. So the challenge was how to reduce that friction point, and that is where we sort of started innovating very differently. Take a picture, upload the picture, that's it, like kind of approach. And right now, none of our customer faces that issue of data upload. We build a very strong data quality in system. If some data points are missing, if there is any deviation with the data point, system can detect and tell the person beforehand before it goes to for the reporting or anything. So these are the things we started doing, and right now we are at a stage where you give us data in any format, PDF, JPEG, Excel, CSV, whatever you have. You don't need to worry about anything. So just dump the data, system will take care of the rest of your journey.
Really incredible. Because that is a very, very big friction point even we've heard from many companies, right?
Yes.
They want to just do their business. They don't want to spend time with collecting, giving to you.
Exactly. And also we have to respect the fact that, Andrew, that people who are uploading the data, this is not their core job.
Yes.
There is a sustainability officer sitting in headquarters. He is responsible for publishing all the data report. But someone who is uploading the data, there is no incentive, nothing like that. So we have to sort of keep them a system where they don't need to learn anything at all. We don't ask whether this is your scope 1, 2 or 3. We don't ask any detail except the raw data they have. How many kilometers you drove, that information everyone understands. How many liters of diesel you consumed, that information everyone understands. So that is how sort of we build the system.
Anyone should be able to do it.
Yes.
Literally anyone.
Yes.
Okay, so once you have the data, then what happens? And maybe you can talk about a use case that is your hero use case, because I know you work across multiple industries, paint, chemicals and all too. So maybe we can pick one sector and talk about.
So maybe I'll start with maybe paint, where like we are working with Indigo Paints. And again, another interesting learning, there are CXOs who are literally very serious about sustainability, not just because of the compliance. Actually, they wanted to do something in sustainability meaningful and make an impact. And I would say Indigo Paint is one of those organizations where it was not about compliance. It was actually making an impact on ground. So when we started...
was it like leadership intent?
Leadership, yes.
They just cared to do good.
Yes, exactly. They were like, see, BRSR, they were very clear. If you want me to check box BRSR, we will be able to do, but that is not the intention. So when we started the engagement, they had the data in different formats. Things were happening very manually. and we started sort of pulling everything in system with proof. We started detecting the deviations, issues with the data. So we ensured that whatever is coming to system is very clean data. Then only we can take the proper action. And when we started sort of looking at the insights which was coming from the system, then discussion suddenly moved. What next? What action we can take? And then just to share, they're all key plants now covered with the solar panels. And it was not like, again, it has nothing to do with the compliance. BRSR doesn't ask what action you are taking. And within 8 to 10 months of our engagement, while looking at the data, the insights coming from the data, the leadership was so confident that now they can see what's happening. They immediately decided to put solar across all their facilities. They started putting water meters across all the key junctions, and started measuring all these sort of key data points, so they can take the corrective action. And they are taking a lot of corrective action for the water conservation, and reducing the waste generation. All these things are happening on ground, so it's not just like collecting the data,
This is
converting into.
my favorite part, by the way, of the entire climate action, movement.
Yeah.
The behavior change that happens, right?
Yes.
If you
Yes.
just show people the right data, which is why it's the first step, if you empower people with the right information and knowledge, and you don't say anything more, people
Yeah.
themselves figure out on top of that what to do. Because then you're
Right.
intrigued, right? You say, okay, here's my emission hotspot, here's where there's wastage, here's where it's looking bad or feeling bad. What can I do? And that
Yes.
curiosity from someone on the other side makes them actually explore options
Yeah.
and then like take real action. You can
Yes.
never force that action. It has to come from
Exactly.
within,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. And also one thing I would say, uh, uh, one very important thing I will mention here is the mindset around sustainability. So there has been very sort of long history of sustainability, right? And sustainability has been always seen as a cost center. Now the question is, for us, the biggest challenge was how we can make sustainability rather than cost center, rather than making it a cost center, how we can make it business advantage. And that
Yes.
is where we started looking things very differently, started talking to leadership more closely, what kind of budget you have, what do you want to sort of invest. So all those things we started talking, and that is where sort of the action part started coming very clearly. We opened the black box of sustainability. Whatever you are investing, we will be able to show the outcome. So that is another thing happened, I would say, in last during our journey.
Okay, so you're empowering enterprises with data on carbon, energy, waste, water. They are making their own decisions on what to do on top of it. Or are you suggesting, making recommendations? Hey, here's what you can do to decarbonize.
Yeah, so that is where AI comes into picture. Now we have data. So right now, just to give you some stats around AI, so we have built our own in-house engine. We have data of close to 60,000 companies, their sustainability data. What kind of emission they are making, what kind of actions they are taking, what's the impact of those actions, all those data points we have. And then we use the existing data point to come up with the solution, depending on their hotspot, depending on the emission intensity, depending on the industry, depending on the process. We come up with a potential solution, and we don't like start with really big picture where you have to invest millions of dollars. We start with the baby steps, like you should do the energy audit, you should do the water audit, all those stuff. Then find out the areas where you can intervene. Then you start bringing the already proven technology. Like solar is very proven technology. Energy efficiency, there are a lot of other stuff which are already proven. So we start bringing those kind of solutions, and again, those solutions are driven or generated by the AI engine. Then we validate. We also have our in-house team who sort of validates. We also bring the domain experts as needed to validate the solutions, and then sort of we take those solutions to our customer and sort of sit with them, understand, and then we start putting up a plan in place for them.
Got it. So you're making recommendations, but it's more like a hey, have you met XYZ solution provider?
Yeah.
But you're not actually doing that yourself, right? Because then there's no end. You can
No, yeah, exactly.
There's no end
And
to
then
it.
that is where partnership comes
Yes,
into
yes,
picture.
partnerships
That is
come
where
in.
we partner. So see, one thing again we learned very soon, that sustainability is one thing where you need to sort of collaborate with each and everyone. And that's why the moment we saw this client's mail and about the podcast, we suddenly got excited. We need like people like you, companies like Climes, who are sort of bringing different kind of stuff related to sustainability on table. So our
Agreed.
customer doesn't need to sort of knock 10 different doors. System is telling solar deployment, we will give you the list of companies who can help you with the solar deployment.
You're right. We say it's a non-zero sum game, you know, because it's not a zero sum problem. So you can't have a zero sum solution. It needs lots and lots of different solutions all operating under one umbrella, but it needs to be made frictionless and seamless for the end customer. Indigo Paint's job is to go make paint. They can't be spending all their time just figuring out climate and sustainability goals, right?
Exactly.
Our job is to fit in and say, okay, here are 5 companies that can do the 5 different things that are required for you.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah.
And in a very frictionless way. And I think the more that happens, the more enterprises will actually go deeper in their net zero journeys.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very high friction or too costly or too like just difficult to figure out who's going to do this for me. Companies will be scared of even getting started.
Yeah. And that is our experience, and that is where we are sort of trying to bring the tech and sort of human expertise to reduce that friction as much as possible for the companies. There is intent to do good.
Yes.
At every board level, I would say.
Yeah. And then what about that last step, which is reporting? So you've converted all this data into, useful intelligence, and then you're converting it into reports for compliance, right? BRSR is only one, but there are so many geographical specific compliances, so many sector specific compliances. How do you map them all out, and how do you actually convert all your intelligence that you've created into useful reports?
Right. Yes, very, very deeply, I would say. That's the thing. So there are like companies who are trying to fit AI into their existing solution. At the same time, we are building everything on AI, and there is a huge difference. And from day zero, we were like, even before the entire Gen AI wave came into picture, from day zero, we were very clear there is only one way to solve this giant problem. Giant global problem is using the next gen technology. So across each and every step, we use AI very heavily. If you go to different regions, as you mentioned, like CSRD, like we can generate the entire CSRD using the system, using the AI, using the information which you have already published in the past. So we sort of go through whatever you have published in the past. System, we in the sense system, our AI system goes through whatever you have done in past, whatever work you are sort of doing, whatever product you are making, and then pull all the information, and it can actually generate your CSRD report. Obviously, you have to provide some data points as per the requirement of the different frameworks. Otherwise, system will collate everything in a very, very seamless manner. And right now, we can generate 80% report without any human intervention. The remaining 20% is where we sort of trying to achieve the 100%. But again, at the end of the day, it is always a good idea a human reads the reports before making it public.
Yeah, I think it's not AI assisted human workflows, it's human assisted AI workflow.
Yes, exactly. Right? Exactly. You put it in.
Is done by AI, and then 20% human touch to make sure that it's actually making sense and it's logical.
Right.
And that's how you reach a lot more companies around the world.
Right.
Empowered with that data, then really like they can do a lot more in their sustainability journey. I continue to believe like that first part is so important, because if they can't even get started with that, nothing else matters. We can build all the best carbon removal solutions and water solutions in the world. The company is just not going to care if they can't even measure their own impact so far.
Yeah. Right.
And then how will they become a customer for these solutions? It won't happen.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, I understood really deeply about your platform. I'd love to just also understand, what does it take to build a company like Sprih? How have you put your team together? How have you found people to bring onto your team, and what's the construct like now in an AI first, AI native present, not future? How are you thinking about team building? It's something I find very, very fascinating, right? Climate, teams, software, right? What is your current approach?
Yeah. So I think this is very, very interesting question you asked, because if you look at the Indian education system, sustainability is not part of most of the colleges as of now.
EVS or EVE was environmental science or environmental education. We all have no mandatory in school.
Yeah, but again, I think the current what we are doing is very
Yeah.
different than
Yes.
environmental. Yeah. So see, definitely there is a gap on the capacity side, but at the same time there are enough passionate people who wants to learn about sustainability. So we are definitely, because of the tech nature of company, we are slightly engineering heavy company, but at the same time we have a very strong research team. And we have sort of PhDs from ISC Bangalore, different IITs. So we have sort of hired a lot of people who are actually passionate about sustainability, not just kind of another career option. Uh, Even our engineers, if you talk to any of our engineers, they will know about sustainability much better than anyone kind of who probably starting the sustainability journey and everything. So we put a lot of focus on getting people who are actually passionate about the problem. If an engineer is not passionate about the problem of solving sustainability solution, then probably the outcome might not be, I would say, might not fulfill the need of the entire problem statement itself. So we sort of look for someone who is passionate about sustainability, passionate about making an impact, and then sort of come and join our team across different functions. We are close to now 40 people team. Half of the team is around engineering. Then I would say close to 20-30% people are around research, and then the smallest team is, I would say, marketing and sales. But still we are able to expand globally, and primarily because the way we have built the product. So we are competing with the global players
Yeah.
now, and
Like
then we are getting
Persephone, Plan A, Watershed. Are those your
yes.
competitors?
Yes, and then we are winning. We are winning, and primarily because of the sort of deep foundation of sustainability underneath the tech we are building. That
Yeah.
is something which is very important. So if you're building something for sustainability, and if sustainability is not in the foundation, then things might not scale, might not work in long term.
Yeah. So 40 people you said, right, on the team now?
Yes, yeah.
What you said passionate, they've got to be passionate, they've got to like actually care for sustainability. But give me an example of one person, one or two people who have really thrived on a team like Spree. Because you're a 3-year-old company right now, so you would have seen,
Yeah.
enough time and longevity and history. What kind of a person has thrived in an environment like this? Because
I would,
there's a lot of people interested in getting in even now, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I think there is a particular personality type that thrives
Yeah,
in this.
yeah. So I would say you have to be curious. Like it can't be like, even if, see, I think so. One very important thing here, you have to challenge. So if you go to, like, there are people who has experience of 30 years working in the sustainability domain, and you as a very kind of fresher starting your journey, you should be curious and bold enough to even question the someone who has the experience of 30 years.
Yeah.
Because things are very different now about sustainability than what it was even 5 years back, right? So I think you have to be very bold, curious, and at the end of the day, hardworking. If you're not like putting your more than 24 hours sometime, uh, you might not be able to reach. And then there are a lot of very young folks who are taking now the CSO role in big companies like Mahindra, Tata, and everything. And probably they have put a lot of effort behind the scene, learned a lot of new things, stay updated with the global trends and everything. So I think at the end of the day, you have to be curious, hardworking, and risk taker. Nothing, I
Yeah,
don't
you
think
have to
so.
take this.
Yeah, you have to take the risk, whatever you are doing in sustainability kind of thing.
Yeah, only with some risk does big upside come, right? Risk free, there's nothing that's
Yeah,
example.
there's a law. I would say
Yeah,
law of nature.
for sure. So looking ahead, where do we go from here? Again, you're 3 years in. How long of a journey do you imagine Spree is going to be? And
Yeah,
at what point would you declare, success and say, okay, at least I've reached milestone number one, and
yeah.
then you move the goalpost. But what is the first big milestone?
Oh, okay. So I would say first big milestone was even like moving from the kind of collecting data to action. That was a milestone for us. Now most of our companies are doing that, like starting with the very basic assessment accounting and moving towards actual action. So that is one milestone on the impact side for us. At the company level, I don't think so there is any milestone with every milestone we will keep changing the milestone. But if you ask my vision, yeah, but
Yeah.
if you ask a grand vision for Spree, we are very clear that we are going to be one of the global tech company for sustainability, for climate. So that is very clear. There is no question there. We are competing with the global players. We are expanding in global markets. So we are very clear that we are going to be a global top 5 global companies when it will come to AI first climate tech company.
So,
That is very
goal
clear.
is to
And
build
we are
a
there.
generational company from India for
Yes,
the
yes,
world in
yeah,
space,
yes,
right? An
yes,
AI
yeah,
native
yeah.
climate intelligence company.
Yes, yes. That is clear. That is very clear, and we are in that direction. The indications are very positive for us. We just need to sort of execute things very well, and we will be there.
And what are some things you're looking for help on, or the right kind of partnerships that you're still looking to find?
Uh, Again, I would say, again, the kind of work we are doing every day, we are learning something new. So even what you said, right? You guys help companies for the sustainability related financing, and we meet our customers. They don't have budget. There is intent. So obviously, I'm going to sort of connect you guys. So similarly, we need a lot of. So like we also partner with the technical institutes like IIT. So we have MOU with IIT Kanpur, Bombay. So the ecosystem partners or players who are doing some research around clean energy or green tech, happy to sort of get in touch with them and then figure it out if we can sort of take their solution to our customers. So those kind of partnerships we always look for. Uh, yeah, so I think these are the some of the things I'm hoping to sort of where people like you can help us.
Yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely. We fully believe in
yeah,
collaboration, and that's why I
yeah,
asked you.
yeah, yeah.
It helps to know like what are you looking for help on, what are the current areas, and then as and when the right institution comes to mind,
Yes,
link up
yes,
because
exactly.
this is really a collective problem to solve.
Exactly, exactly,
We
exactly,
believe in the power of
exactly,
partnership.
exactly. Yeah.
In fact, we
And
should
again,
invite you
by
after
the
as
way,
well.
Anrit, we did not talk about the sustainability mafia, but yes, I have been following sustainability mafia. I don't know whether you know Hiran Bedam or not, but she did mention about sustainability mafia.
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
invite you also into that. We don't have you in it yet.
Yeah, so I think one of my team member was asking about like how to get to
But
be
you're
part of
not
this.
currently yet, right? Like, okay,
Not yet, but yeah, we would
I'll
like to be. Yeah,
great, great, great.
yeah.
Awesome, Akash. It's been so lovely talking to you and learning about
Same,
what
same
Spree
here,
does.
same here,
And
Andrew.
I continue to believe that, while lots of companies are working deeper down the climate stack, this first part of climate intelligence is really, really important. Without knowledge, there is nothing else.
Yes, yeah,
Without knowledge, there can't be intent, there can't be action, and then impact.
exactly, exactly.
Knowledge is the first layer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, my school motto, I went to boarding school, my school motto was knowledge are light. Like,
Oh,
knowledge is the first step of
yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Without that,
Right,
there is nothing more. And I
right.
think what you implied at the beginning of the conversation, which is getting it right, is the most important. Because if
Yes.
you start that baseline wrong, you're on a completely
Yeah,
wrong
exactly. Yes, yeah, yeah,
like lifetime
yeah,
trajectory,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true. That is true. Yeah.
right? So super grateful for what you do, and we're going to continue to root for you. Thank you
Thanks,
for being
thanks,
on
Sandeep.
this episode today.
Thanks. Pleasure is all mine. Looking forward to stay in touch and do let us know if there is anything for us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sandeep.